Welcome to the Towns of Learning Show podcast series, episode 54, with independent learning tech analyst John Lay. Today I interview Phil Vervaet, VP of LMS Sales Enablement at Crowd Wisdom LMS, about the business of professional education. You can find more of our fiercely independent resources at townsoflearning.com. Welcome back, listeners, to the Towns of Learning Show podcast. On this show, I am fortunate to interview the world's leading experts in extended enterprise learning solutions from both the vendor and the practitioner perspectives. And today's no different. Today, from the vendor expert side, my guest Phil Vervaet lives on the front lines of high-end professional education. Crowd Wisdom provides complex and serious global B2C, B2B, and B2B to B2B solutions for content providers, associations, and even corporate extended enterprise. Phil understands and fights through the challenges of those sectors on a daily basis. And so we'll get that perspective today. As many listeners know, LMS for employees and LMS for professional education are two different things. The business case is different. The content is different. The challenges, the goals, the technical challenges, the business challenges, the measurable outcomes are all different. And we're going to learn all about it today from an expert. Phil, welcome to the Towns of Learning Show. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here, John.
All right, it's a long-term coming, and we've been working together now for, as in the marketplace, or meeting each other in the marketplace now for the better part of 10 years, working with the same client base and professional education in both associations and for-profit education type companies. We've done stuff in extended enterprise and customer learning together. So Crowd Wisdom and the work that you guys do is well known at Talent and Learning. And you guys are a perennial winner on our annual awards as we honor the what we think are the best extended enterprise learning systems in the marketplace. And so it's super to have you here today, because I know where you guys compete in the marketplace, and we want to share that with our audience today and kind of frame out, what you see as the current marketplace and content as a business, and challenges and solutions and key features. And, let's frame it out for everybody, because I think, and I think you think too, that this is by far the most exciting segment inside the learning system space. And let's use today to find out why. What do you say?
That sounds great.
All right. For people that don't know it all or haven't been on all of our stuff, Crowd Wisdom may not be a household name. So why don't we start there? Why don't you tell us about your organization and community brands in general, which is the mothership. So why don't we start at the top?
Sure. So Crowd Wisdom, learning management platform. I mean, we are a rich, feature-rich platform that really focus on that critical professional development education programs, meaning that we're really centered around the learner delivering that relevant content, based on their interests, based on their history, any peer type activity. So what are their peers taking, that type of thing. So therefore our solution is ideal for learners seeking to maintain a certificate, those that might be like in a member organization with very specific communities, and they require access to learning activities, relevant to their profession. So do you need to continually earn credits? That is the type of system that we offer to our clients. So, so that's the product, right? Crowd Wisdom. We are now owned by Community Brands, and they're a leader in cloud-based software. Currently serving over 13,000 organizations. Wow. So global mission is to really help organizations, achieve their success faster, grow more robust, and fulfill their potential as a rapidly evolving digital world. So.
And tell us about your role in the organization and your history.
Yeah. So I've been with Crowd Wisdom for the past 10 years. I'm excited to actually start a new role here as a Vice President of Sales Enablement for the various learning products and services. But previously I was a Vice President of Operations. I held like the sales engineer role, also account management role. So kind of the history, 10 years ago, I actually had met the founder, Tamer Ali of Crowd Wisdom. We actually live in the same town, do kind of a mutual colleague, I was introduced to Tamer. And at that time, I was embarking on a new venture myself, providing, uh, services for technology companies that were looking for, explosive but certainly manageable growth. And actually, Crowd Wisdom was like positioned perfectly for that as a learning management system, very ripe for market share expansion.
So one of the big things that's maybe not obvious to all listeners is that there's a lot of different types of learning systems out there, and most of the learning systems are targeted towards different use cases, either maybe for running schools in academia or for employee learning. But learning systems that are designed to sell content and sell continuing education are really super different. And so I was wondering if two-part question. One, you could frame out what type of organizations need a continuing education learning management system and how they're different than how they're different than a typical LMS. Like, why was a typical LMS? I know you replace typical LMSs all the time. Where do they fall down on this? And so what I'm trying to get at is what makes your continuing LMS, we're a continuing LMS, education LMS special? It's a big question.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at those three traditional buckets, right? Higher education, LMS, and then you have the corporate LMS, and then you do have continuing education, professional development. And those audiences are maybe like a membership organization or an association that need to, one, provide their members. I mean, I went through and once I read through all of our clients' mission statements, and they all had an element of education, providing quality education. But that obviously can vary quite a bit. But most of these organizations also look to, be one of their revenue levers that they want to be able to kind of take advantage of. So if they're bringing in members through selling memberships, certainly their annual conferences, and then that third kind of leg of that stool is certainly education, and that's where we certainly excel. One, you have to address an audience that can be anywhere in the world, that are typically doing a lot of their continuing education after hours, weekends, that type of thing. Can't dictate technology. You don't know what browser they're going to be on. You just don't know. So you have to, one, have a very solid system that really, from an SLA, service level agreement, up all the time and anywhere to address their needs. But then that lever of being able to sell content as well. And really there's two areas, right? You got B2C, so more of the company or the organization selling directly to one member or that consumer. Or you have this B2B, which is becoming more and more trends, and we certainly saw that trend and started building in features and functionality around that. So it's me as an organization selling to another organization. So maybe I have in the healthcare space, it could be a whole hospital system that want to buy 100 seats for their nurses within one hospital, but then start making those across all their various hospitals within their system. So that hierarchy is becoming more important to be able to say, us in an organization, we want to buy 500 seats, 100 for each one of these, and how do we make that happen? And then deliver it, report back up through the organization, and then obviously the member, the healthcare association, also wants that data back as well. So, so we fit in very well in that. And then really, from a personalization standpoint, addressing those busy professionals. So I know, obviously a big trend is around personalization and experience learning platforms, being able to make it more learner centric in terms of, how is this, what are my needs? How can I address and really build a program that's going to be very relevant to me? So building in more personalization into that for those busy professionals. And then, even micro learning, we've been talking about for a long time, many years, but it really is, I'm seeing more and more micro learning, breaking up large blocks of content into very smaller pieces where it's much more, I can consume that on my time, but it's sticky as well. So I know there's been more reports and more information out there about how those micro pieces are actually accelerating that learning being a bit more sticky for those learners. So
Interesting. And all those areas are all areas that sometimes employee LMSs touch lightly, if at all, but generally not. And so what ends up happening is, you buy a traditional LMS and, you try to bend it and force it to, support these different organizations, that healthcare system, and to do that in a way that's secure and easy is difficult. And so that's typically where they hit the wall. But let's dig in where they really hit the wall a little bit more into this B2B and really the next level of that of even syndication to B2B to B, that third B. Can you tell us, just dig into that more about what kind of functionality that you have to support that's needed to support this concept of organizations as customers with learners and organizations that are even selling and have their own customers with learners. What kind of complexities are in the air in a solution like that?
Yeah, so one area that you kind of hit on there was just content authors, right? So you may be an organization that has very good learning content. It might be in leadership programs, or it might be what you're kind of known for. And you want to be able to sell not only to, again, that B2C, but then to your customers, and then in turn they want to be able to bring that out to their full extent of their full organization. So being able to really one, have that hierarchy structure, and then they also want those very personalized. So it's almost like having a slice of the LMS that is branded specifically for them. So it could be co-branded, where it's like, this organization is bringing this to you. It kind of meets their branding needs, but also brought to you by these specialty type content folks. So everyone could have their own little branded piece of the LMS. And then to your point, the hierarchy, like how do you need to have that structured? So the complexities around that is really around the data, right? The reporting side of it, where you need to have it rolled up. But me at a line manager level within an organization, I should only see the people that report directly to me. And then my boss on top of me should be able to see, all their downline, all their managers, and all who report to them, and then et cetera, and then it goes up from there as well. So so it's around the making it very personalized for each one of those organizations, and then meeting the requirements for those managers to be able to report, track back. Because again, this is primarily, these organizations are buying this content, so they want to make sure their learners are not only starting it, completing it, seeing some results in terms of being very sticky. Another area that we're bringing out is really around assignments, right? So being able to send an assignment out to my group. So we work with some organizations that have program directors, certainly in the area of healthcare associations. So someone like ASAP, which is the emergency physicians, they may offer to various med schools that want to have a program director be able to give an assignment to their students, and that could be from a bank of multiple questions. And again, I want to do a pop quiz, create an assignment of 10 questions that I pull out of these banks, assign that to those students, and then track that back as well. So bringing even on more and more control from the people at those various levels within the organization to have more control and understand what their learners are doing and tracking is important.
Interesting. To put it in context, a lot of that organizational hierarchy management is stuff that you'll see in employee LMSs too. I think what's different here is that you could be doing it 1,000 times simultaneously. So you're maintaining all these different organizations and all of their structures and all of their manager relationships, not all of them, but for each one of those to different levels. And a lot of times they're going to have different authentication sources and data coming in telling about those learners. So it's like doing an employee solution, to the 100th degree of management. And that's where the complexity comes in. It's not so much the actual things themselves as much as so much having to work together at the same time. Another part, I wish this podcast was a couple hours because we have a bunch of questions. Another part that I really see expanding here in the professional education is around the test preparation aspect of it, and assessment questions, tied to competencies and really tied to a bigger mission. And I know there's been a lot of advancements in not only your solution, but just industry expectations, around solutions like that. I wonder if you could just talk about that a little bit, what that test preparation is, what that means, and what are some advanced things that you see going on right now that are leading the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Exam prep is a very big part of our clients' initiatives that they've been really driving towards. And actually, again, going back to the revenue measurement, it becomes one of their top sellers if they start offering more exam prep type solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And in our case, that is one of our differentiators, is our assessment engine, and be able to put a layer of that to make it more of an exam prep. So we do that not only, again, for various audiences, but if you were, trying to be a certified treasury professional, being able to provide, a pre-assessment to understand my strengths and weaknesses within a body of knowledge. And to your point, it could be listed on various competencies. We have other groups that do it on topics. We have other groups that actually call them chapters, like chapter 1. Here's all the content you need for chapter 1. So you could divide up the exam, the self-assessment tool, to be based on either those chapters or those competencies. But then it's kind of that rote, feed me the questions that I'm asking for because I have 15 minutes. So give me that flexibility. And then we tag all those questions throughout our system. And then I could say, give me questions out of these various question pools. And it randomizes those. It can randomize the question stems as well as the distractors, and then feed me those questions. Next time around, it might look a little bit different. But what it allows me to do is, get fed these questions, test my knowledge, and then we also have confidence levels. So we can say, all right, I answer this question, but if it's multiple choice, did I just guess? Or I kind of guessed that it's, they always say answer C, and you may be able to pass. But, what is my confidence in do I know it? Do I think I know it? Or I know I don't know it? So then you can judge your confidence levels as well. So this is all in like an exam study mode, where you could set these settings. You get immediate reasoning of why this is correct or incorrect. You can have various tabs along that also give, where we pulled this question from, what is the reference of this question, as well as additional learning activities. So we have some folks that do, one calls it a pearl, so it's a little pearl of knowledge, expanding on that question. And then again, you rank yourself in your confidence. So a really good use case is we have a nursing association that, and this made me actually feel great. This is AORN, which is the perioperative registered nurses. So these are the nurses in the emergency or in the operating rooms, and the way they do it is they want 100% correct with 100% confidence, and then that's where they can earn their credits. So again, you have to get 100% correct with 100% confidence, which again, that's what you want, right? Like you want to have a nurse.
I like my nurses at 70%. I like to roll the dice.
Yeah. Very confident, but then they know their stuff. So being able to do that, and then say, okay, now I think I'm ready. Let's do a mock exam. And then you can do a mock exam based on those rules. Some of these groups, it's a 4-hour exam. follows the rules of the intermissions that you can take. And then there's could be soft timers too. So I go through it and I'm supposed to be able to finish this in 90 minutes. But we have a timer that's timing you, but then you can continue and it'll turn red. It'll be a soft timer that says, okay, it took me, 120 minutes to get this completed. I need to speed it up and really get this under 90 minutes. But it just doesn't cut you off. It actually will continue, so then you get better that way as well.
Wow, cool. And what type of, why would you want this sophistication? Is this to like pass like an LSAT test or something like that? Is that type of?
Oh yeah. Yeah, this could be, board exams for surgical groups that need to pass boards. So they can earn not only credits, but then they, get them ready for those type of board exams. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
One thing you did mention is around, being able to distribute that as well. So we do have it's content syndication. This is a perfect thing that folks want to syndicate, meaning they want to be able to distribute content like this, but not have
like
to
the
have
assessment engine, you mean?
The assessment engine, yeah,
right.
And certainly around like exam prep. So if maybe their corporate LMS does not have a strong testing engine and they want to offer a course, and like a nursing association being able to offer this course, but in some of these hospital systems, like they're not very high tech and they have a lot of
balls in the air.
Yeah, I mean, they really lock down browser and what people can search. So getting outside their infrastructure is sometimes tough. But what it allows you to do is through AICC or being able to make that shareable content, being able to allow them to play it within their corporate LMS, and then still be able to track back and get the data is a big trend we're seeing now. So it's really a concept of wrapping. So you can wrap this content, allow these groups to either take it as a SCORM course, like a SCORM package, or an AICC link, put it in another LMS, and then be able to track that back. It expands their reach even more to be able to offer content that they still have control over, right? If you gave a SCORM package and just turn it off at a certain time, you actually have control over how that content is being distributed.
Wow, cool. And while we're on content, what about content authoring? Like, what's the trends of what content looks? You mentioned a little bit about micro learning previously, but in general, the types you mentioned, not AICC, it's still in use, I guess. But what's content look like in professional organizations? Is it live? Is it hybrid? What's the trends?
Yeah, so there's certainly a trend for hybrid or blended type learning where there's some aspect of a live event, and so we do have integrations with the various popular webinar platforms out there as well, but they're utilizing is a kind of that blended where there's some pre-work that they want you to do, maybe a pre-assessment, watch these videos, download all the handouts, but be ready for the live portion of it. So a lot of cohort learning going on out there where it might be like a 5-day event where every day at 12 o'clock it's the live event, you're getting on a webinar, you're learning various topics, and then there's post work, and then these folks are giving homework as well. So that instructor role is another area that we've been really expanding. And I mentioned one of them was being able to provide assignments, but the other one is review. So some of these organizations, they have experts in the area that they actually pay to review people's assignments. So we're creating a new reviewer role that's being piloted where it's this learner finishes an assignment and then there's someone in the field that they want to review. So you can assign that reviewer to that assignment and then auto notifications alerting, hey, the people that you're assigned to finish their assignment. They go through, they can grade it, they can make comments, they can send it back to the learner to try again. So there's that type of functionality that we're seeing. But yeah, I mean, I think what you're seeing from a video standpoint is people are looking for segments now. It's almost that, chapter based, or being able to break up into smaller bite-sized pieces from a video, like a
Mm-hmm.
playlist, to to be able to deliver as a
Yeah.
playlist. And then other features around that, like, do you need assessment questions to be popping up during that video, and you want to check their knowledge or at least keep them engaged when they're watching videos?
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely a trend. People just kind of maximizing what they have, right? So if they're recording sessions at annual conferences or different conferences they're offering, now bringing it back and offering it as an on-demand, and
Mm-hmm.
then offering social features around there. So, if it was live, there might have been some discussions happening, and the instructor or the facilitator offering questions, and me on demand. I don't want to necessarily miss that part of it. So allowing for the discussion threads within that course to pick up on those questions, and then everyone that's doing it on demand being able to see how people are replying to those questions as well. So
Wow, cool, cool. And what about from an authoring standpoint itself? Do you see the trend of people still using third-party authoring tools, or is intra LMS authoring the table stakes standard now? What's your view on that?
we consistently are getting more and more requests for what authoring tools and are available within the LMS,
Mm-hmm.
or how can I take various pieces of content or learning activities and assemble them in a different way, some more like assembly tools within the LMS as well. So, Crowd Wisdom certainly offers the assessment engine authoring to author exams and quizzes and knowledge checks, and then survey engines and polls, but then be able to assemble a full certificate program with rules too, right? So what are the rules for earning this certificate,
Mm-hmm.
or even certification, and then be able to distribute that in a way that is more of a learning path, right? Send them down a path that's very trackable. Those are the type of products we're seeing our customers wanting to offer, because again, they become kind of top sellers. Like, I don't want to only buy one course separately. Send me down a whole path of multiple,
Mm-hmm.
content arranged based on competencies, where at the end I can either earn like a badge that's shareable on social media, or certainly a certificate. And if it is a certification, like, how do I get back re-enrolled and to be able to maintain that
Mm-hmm.
certificate or certification as well. And then offering that is a trend. But yeah, more and more, authoring inside the system, and a lot of people certainly want to take advantage of you know custom HTML pages and as well. So
Mm-hmm.
those are
And,
available.
and the trend in general is vertical scrolling of content. So moving away from like flip the pages as most,
Yeah,
just keep scrolling down, and that might be embedded different activities, SCORM courses, even embedded
absolutely.
in that flow. It's
Yeah.
something I've seen you guys been doing a lot of out in the marketplace.
Yeah, certainly mobile, right? Mobile devices were obviously trend year over year. More people accessing
Mm-hmm.
content through, smartphones and iPads, and being able to kind of have that same experience of scrolling instead of click through content,
Mm-hmm.
is something that, we embraced uh, oh, many
Wow.
years
Yep.
ago, actually before like articulate rise, rise type courses became popular as well. But to your point, being able to embed maybe a video that's coming from the LMS, or a survey or reflection type questions,
Mm-hmm.
that is more trackable than if it's in a published SCORM, being able to report back
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's interesting. We have just a couple minutes left,
Yeah.
so I want to have two questions so fast. What is the biggest technical or integration challenge that you'd run into in professional education? What do you see people just running into time and time again that you guys get to solve?
You hit on one. And we're having more organizations want multiple SSOs and how they get into the system.
Hmm.
So, you know, without having obviously duplicate records and being able to
Sure.
solve for that. And these are different technologies, right? It could be, SAML, but it could be OpenID from different groups.
Hmm.
And then one thing that we do solve for is how met like we have this concept called conditions, and that really starts lending itself to that personalization that we talked about, where I can write a whole bunch of if-then statements,
Hmm.
and actually we can write conditions that address some of these if-then statements. If you meet these requirements, then show them this content. And some of the challenges is like to really make that impactful is you need more attributes into your system, right? So one of the challenges is not to have this huge heavy payload in the SSO when it comes over. So we have another call that we can make. It's kind of like an attribute grabber. As long as there's an endpoint that you might have a system of record that have a lot of attributes about this individual, their language preferences, their geography, their role, you name it. It's your, whatever attributes are important to you. We
Hmm.
can go and grab those and pull those in, and then with this conditions feature, write those if-then statements. If they're this role, then show them this content. And this even gets to we've had a few companies that are even looking at Crowd Wisdom that we do that extended enterprise, but then they want to start offering it to their own staff. So
Hmm.
with this, they are starting to offer some of their own compliance courses within Crowd Wisdom for their staff as well. So,
Well,
addressing those challenges to really make it personalized within Crowd Wisdom from an integration standpoint is
all right. Well, we're definitively out of time. So, last question:
sure.
What's your what's your best advice? We always end up with the here on the podcast. What's your
Yeah.
best advice for organizations in professional education looking to prepare for the future? What should you be doing now so that you're prepared for a couple of years from now? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, in professional education, I always equate it to like a movie, right? So you don't want to necessarily care too much about the production value. It's the story, it's the content. So content is always still king.
Mm,
So I would prepare, and it always leads to that conversation about breadth or depth of your content, right? So I would most of the time where we see success is a organization is known for a very specific content. Like they're known in their industry for providing this content. So really adopting that as your key content and making that the absolute best that you can, and then start expanding from there, right? Like land people who know you for this content and then start expanding into other areas and offering other content for that same audience. So my advice would really be, think of content first and how you need to develop that content for that audience, and then start looking at the technology to deliver that to the audience that you need.
all right. Sage advice. Phil Vervaet, VP of LMS Sales Enablement, Crowd Wisdom, part of Community Brands. Thanks for joining me here today. Just a great, interesting
Yeah,
conversation. As we mentioned, we walk in the same circles all the time, so
yeah,
it's fun to on camera or off talk shop with you like we do all the time,
absolutely.
including today. So I learned a lot. Audience, I'm sure you learned a lot about what's going on in the high end professional education, and we hope to see you on the next one. And you can find more of our independent content at townsendlearning.com. Everybody, have a great day.
Thank you.